What's up, Overwatch fans? We are back in Los Angeles, and we are live for the final week of Stage 2 in the 2019 Overwatch League season. Every match matters this week as we lock in our stage playoff picture. Fresh off the first ever home games in the Overwatch League, the Dallas Fuel are back in Los Angeles. AK, I'm horsing around a bit before the Fuel try to land their second playoff appearance here in franchise history. Standing in their way today is the Florida Mayhem squad that is looking to play spoiler as they continue to search for success in the big leagues. This match is just 30 minutes away. Welcome inside the Blizzard Arena. This is the Watchpoint pre-show presented by State Farm. I'm your host, Chris Puckett, joined at the desk. We've got our expert analyst for the day. You know him, Bren. We've got Sideshow, and replacing Zoe on the desk, we have a young... Who is that? Is that Ryan Reynolds? Is it? It looks like him.
Why you always do this to me, Puckett? I'm honored to be on the desk, and I'm honored to join you guys.
Who is Ryan Reynolds?
His name is Wolf Schroeder. Ryan Reynolds, you'll see him in that Pikachu.
I'm sitting a little bit further away from Bren than usual, but...
Wolf, you're handsome as ever. Love having you on the desk. He's going to be great insights all day long. We've got a great show for you, and we're starting the week off strong here on Watchpoint. We'll preview the star-studded match between Philadelphia and San Francisco, including two of the league's biggest damage-dealing stars. And of course, we've got the Fuel hosting an awesome event in Dallas last weekend. Their stars will sit down to recap all of the magic, and we'll decide who's the best player in the league. In the greatest debate segment in esports, it's attack or defend. When the mics start clicking on stage, though, you'll see that match between the Fuel and the Mayhem. Plus, the Guangzhou Charge will battle the Houston Outlaws. But the match of the day is that second one between Philadelphia and San Francisco. The Fusion are 3-3 and need a win to have a shot at making their third appearance in a stage playoff. The Shock are already locked in for the playoffs and are looking to become the first team to go undefeated without dropping a map in an entire stage if they can sweep both Philly and Shanghai this week. We talk about the stage playoffs, but the Fusion are still 6th in our overall standings. So Sideshow, are the Fusion as good as the standings currently say they are?
Now, I don't think the Fusion are a terrible team, but I do think that they are kind of riding that wave of the easier strength of schedule they had in Stage 1. They're above the Dynasty, Fuel, and Dragons at the moment in the overall standings. And I would say, just judging by the way that Fusion have played and how those other teams have as well, they're much closer to being on the level of Shanghai and Fuel, I think. And I would expect them to lose to the Dynasty if they went up head-to-head. I think that would be a pretty close game, but by no means is Fusion necessarily guaranteed to be in this playoff picture at the end. They were our runners-up last year, but they still have to do a lot of work.
Yeah, you mentioned the easier schedule, I guess, in Stage 1 for Philly themselves. Stage 2, different beast entirely, right? These guys have had it rough. And I mean, you can see here, they've had to go up against New York Excelsior twice, London Spitfire that looking newly rejuvenated, and now they play against the Shock today. But the good news, if you're a Philly fan, is that they won the games that they were supposed to win. You know, against Mayhem, Defiant, Outlaws, we kind of expected them to pick up some wins against those weaker teams. So they've done the best realistically that they can. If they get a win here today against Shock, it'll be astounding realistically. I think Philly can be very pleased with their performance so far because, as you said, they've already set themselves up for a pretty good season considering their success in Stage 1. And Stage 2, I mean, you know, it's not the worst case scenario considering the teams you're up against.
Wolf, we got to talk about the Shock here. They've been perfect so far throughout Stage 2. They haven't dropped a map. And if they can complete the stage with 28 maps in a row, does that make them the most dangerous team here in Stage 2?
I mean, it's very impressive if you can actually get that record, if you can get the 28-0, but I don't think it necessarily makes them the best team in the stage. And you also have to start to wonder if, with an easy stage like this, for the opponents they had, it's the opposite of Philly, Will they have atrophied? Will they actually be able to maintain proper practice? Once we hit playoffs, that's where we're going to see if Shock is as good as they were in Stage 1. We don't really have the answers to that just yet because each and every match has basically been a walkthrough stomp, 4-0.
Well, there's no question the Shock are better this season than the 2018 version. And after a tough inaugural season, Super Moth talked to us about being motivated by their struggles last year and how they're really just trying to forget about it.
Being able to break these Orisa holds has been the bane of their life. They just look lost.
San Francisco struggling here.
You've got to never underestimate the power of San Francisco Shock to lose a game, I think.
It was kind of rough. Me and Sinatra, we didn't really scrim that much when we weren't playing because it was like players that we haven't really had that much experience with in a league that we haven't had experience with.
He just turned 18. He's finally old enough to play in the Overwatch League.
I try to think about last year.
Yeah, we were all still developing.
Yeah, I don't know. Last year was just a mess.
That was a disastrous opening for San Francisco.
San Francisco Shock, a very dominant start to their season here.
Coming into this season, we know what to expect, so I think it just helps us relieve some of that, like, stress, I guess.
That's gonna be a triple kill. He puts them in the grave. Oh, that's a hole in one.
I feel like our teamwork is a lot better and we trust each other more. We worked really hard in the offseason before this to get to this point.
They were building for the future last year. The future came pretty quick.
San Francisco Shock absolutely living up to the hype.
Oh, it's huge. That's what the Shock needed again.
Probably the biggest thing for us is we all like each other, and that's just like a big thing because you don't want to play with someone you don't like. I mean, except for him, but no, we'll get through that.
The Fusion were statistically superior to San Francisco last season, but this year is a different story. This is just a snapshot at part of the rosters and the difference in some of the important ranks, but it starts to show us that time and things are definitely changing here, and there's a new guard. Josh, what do you think about this one? How do you see the two teams side by side?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because Fusion have got so much notable star power on their roster. Everybody's heard of Carpe. He was a lead runner for MVP throughout a lot of the season last year. And now he and the rest of his team have really fallen behind the pack, whilst other teams, notably the San Francisco Shock, but also complete newcomers, the Vancouver Titans as well, have risen up through the rankings and are now way more powerful than the Philadelphia Fusion have been at any point throughout their franchise, I think. The Fusion were never coming out here and dominating. They just always had the potential to be able to play incredibly well. And so the Shock have actually got to the point where the Fusion were at where they look dangerous, overtaking them and just continue to sail upwards.
Still rolling. I like it. Another team on the rise in 2019 is the Dallas Fuel. When we come back, the players tell us about the special experience of hosting the first ever homestand and how they think it'll help them burn bright the rest of the season. This is Watchpoint. The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, now connecting 99% of Overwatch League fans. Catch your league on America's network, T-Mobile. First homestand at Dallas was an amazing weekend for the players, the community, and for the thousands of excited fans that got to watch their home team live for the first time. The Fuel earned 2 inspired wins over the Los Angeles Valiant and Houston Outlaws, and we sat down with Note and Closer to find out just how they felt to be a part of the emotional weekend.
I'm expecting big performances from Dallas. I think the hometown crowd will actually fire them up and make them perform even better.
It is a good day for some Overwatch, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Dallas homestand weekend here at the Allen Event Center. It is intense in here. It is packed to the rafters.
It was pretty incredible when we first walked out there. Like, the amount of volume that we heard from the crowd there, like, it was actually deafening just how loud it was.
긴장을 해서 예상대로 위축이 될 줄 알았는데 팬들 앞에서 환호성 받고 응원 받고 하다 보니까 긴장이 풀려서 게임에 더 집중할 수 있었던 것 같아요.
before joining the team, I was worried whether I was going to be accepted by the fans, whether they'd, like me and approve of me, I guess. But after this whole event, I feel like I'm fully part of the team now and fully part of that big community of Dallas fans.
It's gonna be taken down in midair. They cannot tag it. Dallas Fuel, they take it home.
It's lit out here in the home star state.
아무래도 댈러스는 이제 저희를 응원해 주시는 팬분들이 엄청 많은 큰 무대였잖아요.
I don't think I was expecting that turnout, that crowd support, that energy. It's a really cool feeling to have.
After those wins, Dallas now sits in 6th place in our Stage 2 standings. The top 5 teams have officially clinched stage playoff berths, and there are several teams bunched up with just 2 losses. But a win today would clinch a playoff appearance for the Dallas Fuel. The Fuel will try and ride that wave of momentum from their homestand last weekend against the Florida Mayhem today. Florida still has just 1 win on the season and claimed to be rebuilding. That makes Dallas the favorites to get a win today, but is there a chance they could be overlooking Florida, Brett?
You're having a giggle, aren't you? Joking.
They had a week off to prep.
You think that? I don't think they're going to be taking the foot off the gas in the slightest, to be honest. They need this win today to realistically make the Stage 2 playoffs. They want that 5-2 record for Stage 2. They want to make it happen. This is a team, I've spoken to a lot of the players after this homestand weekend. I mean, they're going to be coming off the back of insane momentum from this event. There's nothing like having that many fans, 4,500 packed arena cheering behind you and coming into it. Again, it's going to be a bit of a different environment, different atmosphere coming into the Blizzard Arena, but they should be ready and prepped for this, and I don't think they're going to be underestimating Florida whatsoever. They just need to be going full throttle, and I think they will be, honestly.
Josh, one of the things we talked about on the desk throughout that whole homestand was how good the tank line was looking with OG and Note. Where do you currently rank these guys when you're looking at the tank duos?
So I had to go through a list of them and try and figure out where I would put everybody, but I think they're a top 5 tank duo in the league. When you consider the 2 of them together and you take out things like, how well everybody works as a team, just their individual performances as a duo. Yes, there's the Vancouver duo, the Shock duo, NYXL and London. Those are above them, I think. But then, in my opinion, it's OG and Note. I think even though they're not performing as a team as well as other teams like Seoul, for example, I would build a team around OG and Note before I'd build a team around Marvel and Michelle, for example. I think those 2 are very good team players, but OG's just got such an outstanding mechanical ability and a feel for how to clutch in these moments, and Note empowers him so well. This is a dangerous tank line.
Wolf, who are you keeping eyes on when you're looking at this Dallas Fuel team?
I'm always looking at the support line right now. OG took a lot of the spotlight once Note joined. He was upping his performances, but I think that it's not possible without Unko and Closer. And these 2 guys have been shutting down so many critical ultimates in team fights. If you look back at the Battle for Texas in particular, you see Closer, he's hiding, he's lurking, he's not getting hit by EMPs. He had several game-saving sleep darts on Damuma's Winston. He was able to shut down several EMPs on King's Row. And when you look at the, these 2 supports, everything that Houston was doing right, everything they were trying to accomplish, it just got shut down by the support line. Empowered OG, empowered Note as well. And I mean, I think we have to be talking about Uncle. We have to be talking about Closer. I don't want them to get drowned out in the hype around Note and OG's rise to fame right now as a main tank.
Keep your eyes on those support players. Our final match of the day pits the Guangzhou Charge against the Houston Outlaws. For 2 teams with a combined 1 win in Stage 2, their focus needs to be shifted to the season-long standings. The Outlaws almost made the season playoffs last season, but now they sit in 17th place. Are they really one of the worst teams in the league right now, Wolf?
I think we start having to ask the question, are they the worst team in the league right now, or at least one of the worst, because they've only beaten 3 teams. A lot of those teams are at the beginning of the season. And when you talk about the Houston Outlaws right now, a lot of people are pointing fingers. They've got strong DPS players. Why aren't they using them? They use them, they fail, they play 3-3, they fail. It's a tough place to be as a team where everyone is criticizing you. I think that gets into your head a lot as well. But I do feel like, for the Houston Outlaws right now, it's time to turn it around. And with the opponents they have for the rest of the season, I don't know if they're actually going to come out with a win here. I think this might be an 07 stage. If they lose today, they're definitely going to lose to London, you have to think. So it's not a bright outlook right now.
People have very high expectations of the Outlaws, I think, because they're such a popular team and they did really well at the beginning of last season. But last season at the beginning had a meta that fit them so perfectly. And honestly, I don't think the wins are really the exact metric of success that the Houston Outlaws are going for as well. You know, they've built their team as the team to rally behind the fan favorites. They have really personable players that people love to go and watch and see. And they have looked okay in their match against Dallas. So I'm still not at the point yet where I'm at my bottom on the Houston Outlaws. I still feel like there's potential in this team to go somewhere without them having to make any radical changes in the future.
We'll see what they bring out today. Brent, we got to talk about the Charge here because while Houston at 17th place, you got the Charge just one step above at 16th place. So is this the opportunity, knowing this match? Is this where the Charge could go on a run?
I think it could be, honestly, Puckett. These guys had an incredibly tough schedule coming into the match as well. It's a similar situation to Philadelphia Fusion, but they've kind of crumbled where they should have really performed well. But the good news is, if you're a Charge fan, is the future looks a little bit brighter, at least, with the teams they're going to be placing against. So you can see the Stage 3 schedule of this team. Today is a winnable game for them. They've got the momentum, they've got over the hump, they got the win earlier in Stage 2. So now they've got a couple of roadblocks, I guess you could say, but they've got some easier teams in here. I can definitely foresee a scenario where they do end up at least with a much better record here against the Chengdu, against Valiant, Defiant, and Justice as well. Some of the easier teams in the league, some of the weaker teams on their level, more or less. So if you are a Charge fan, don't lose hope. There is still something there in Stage 3, Stage 4, but it's going to take a bit more than just beating those weaker teams. They also have to step up quite massively, I think, against the stronger teams if they want a chance, and they're looking long-term in that playoffs at the end of the year.
All right, Stage 3, the stage for the Charge. As we round the corner towards the second half of the season, it's time to settle some important debates, like who's actually the best player in the league. That's why we have Attack and Defend, and it's next on the Watchpoint pre-show, presented by State Farm. The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. It's the most definitive and binding argument segment in all of sports. It's Attack or Defend. London damage dealer Prophet has led the Spitfire back to the top 5 in the standings, and he's remained in the top 5 statistically in many categories since entering the league. The point is, if there was an Overwatch draft, the 2018 Grand Finals MVP would be the first pick. Brent, Attack or Defend?
I'm going to be attacking this one, honestly, because I firmly believe that the point of Prophet, yes, he's a talented player. He can play many roles up to a very high level consistently. But if you want to win an Overwatch, I feel like the role with the most impact you need to be looking at is the main tanks. I would pick Gesture, Fisher, maybe even OGE as well, actually, over him in this draft.
Who's to say he couldn't play main tank in a different future
You're joking.
meta?
You're actually joking. That's your argument?
He's already played Zarya. He's learned Zarya. He's passed Birdring in that regard. He's played several snipers. He's the MVP of the Apex Season 4 finals, playing Genji for the first time in his career, gets finals
It's
MVP.
always contenders of you, isn't it? Wolf? Always going to
Carries them
fall
to the
back to the
win.
career contenders.
MVP finals for
You're
this
telling me you put
previous
Prophet
season.
on main tank? That's your argument from the basis
No,
of
that
this.
was
I've
my
won
argument.
this.
But
Cut
one day
the
he could
timer,
play
man.
it.
I've won
He
it.
could play it.
Get out of here.
Congrats, Wolf.
Not having
1
it.
point to you. Next up, I love it. Next up, the NYXL lost in the Stage 1 playoffs and are coming off a loss to Atlanta Reign. But New York won 2 stage titles last season, are still in 2nd place overall. The point is, the NYXL will recover to win a stage championship this season. Wolf, attack or defend?
I'm definitely defending this. Everyone is really high on the idea of, okay, they choke in playoffs. They made 4 playoffs last season. They won 2 of them. They were considered the top team. They just lost to Atlanta, but that doesn't mean suddenly, oh, this team is not as good as it used to be. That's just 1 loss. This team is definitely going to win a playoff.
NYXL are not as dominant as they used to be. I mean, that is just out of the question. So there's only 2 stage titles up for grabs left. Stage 2, Stage 3. There isn't one in Stage 4. So they don't look like they're going to win this one. So they're
Why
going
don't
to
they look like they're going to win this one just because they
resurgence.
lost to Atlanta 1 time?
Because Titans and Shock
invalidate everything?
It's Titans and Shock are unbelievably good, and they both look better. They're both undefeated. They're slamming their way through, and they both look fantastic.
I think you got to look back at the history. I think you have to look back at their successes in the past.
Look
I think
back
they're
at
gonna do it.
Titans, contenders, Wolf, contenders.
I'm with the guy in blue on this one. Well done, Josh. All right, last one. You guys ready? As we've mentioned, the Shock have come a long way from the 17 and 23 season last year. This coaching staff has this team on the verge of a perfect stage now without even losing a map. The point is, San Francisco has the best coaching staff in the league. Sideshow, attack or defend?
It hurts me to say this, but I'm going to attack it. I was one of the original pioneers of the Church of Krusty, but I think you have to give this one to the Boston Uprising. Their scouting is phenomenal. They take players that aren't as good as the players that are on the Shock, and they turn them consistently into game winners. Really, really good coaching staff.
So where was Boston in the playoffs then? Where did they land? Were they in the finals of the Stage 1 playoffs?
They previously set the win streak last season by spending pennies. They
San
raked through their
Francisco
pockets,
Shock,
try
right?
and
The
pull out
coaching
whatever
staff, the
little
Church of
change they've
Krusty.
got.
We've gone on about all the time, Josh. Listen, we built these players up. He took this team, this ragtag group of players, and he's built them into a powerhouse monster team. A monster team. Super, you're telling me Super was good in 2018?
No.
Not really. He was
No,
pretty
I'm not telling
average.
you that.
Look at him now. He's a monster, man. It's all the coaching staff.
Josh, you had great points, but Brent was louder. Brent wins this one. I love it. I love it. Great attacks, great defenses, guys. It's pretty easy to coach a talented team when you got players like Super and Sinatra.
My point exactly.
The Shock Stars are getting set to take the stage, and we've got our match predictions coming up right here. It's the Watchpoint pre-show, presented by State Farm. Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League. We're back live in the Blizzard Arena. Here's a look at Closer and the boys getting geared up and ready to go. They just won 2 matches back in Dallas, and they continue that streak here in LA. We're about to find out because they are matching up against a tough Florida Mayhem squad that continues to rebuild. They've had a week off. They've been training. Today is the day they get win number 2. Or is it? May 16th, it's the Overwatch League All-Star Game, and here are the starting lineups for both divisions, as voted by the fans. We got Jonak, Carpe, Poco, Fusions, Pine, and Arc for the Atlantic Division. For the Pacific Division, it will be Ryu Jae-hong, Among, Gushue, Jinmu, Yveltal, and Fleta. So, fellas, let's talk here. Starting with you, Wolf. Out of these 12 starters, who's your favorite?
It's going to be Pine. I'm really excited to see Pine play some Brigida in this new meta. He's been benched the entire time, and I want to see him come out in this meta and play the best Brigida we've ever seen. No, in all seriousness.
The big boss is not allowed to
in all
break.
seriousness, I want to see some McCree. I want to see some Widowmaker. I want to see this guy who's been on the bench all season long, is extremely talented, showcase his skills for the fans who voted him in because they deserve to see it.
I know I was one of them.
Yeah, I really want to see Amon because he's paired up alongside Gushue, which means he's going to go back probably to D.Va. He used to be a D.Va player back when he used to play before he joined this team. He played D.Va and then he moved into play main tank. He's never played Winston before in the whole of his career. He's a weird player, and I want to see him play some other weird stuff.
For me, it's Gushue, man. I mean, this guy, I love this boy. You know, he's so good at the Primal Rages. He's getting kills. They call him the Primal Blades or everything else. I found out another nickname he's got is actually Dad Shui in China.
Dad
Shui. Yeah, Dad Shui. Which is just ridiculous. Now, I don't know the context of this, obviously. The Chinese memes are just worlds ahead of
really
any memes we come up with, honestly. They are light years ahead. But he is just a monstrous player. And you say you think Amon is going to be playing D.Va alongside him. Mate, literally get Gushue on Winston, Amon on Ball, and just watch them just fly in. Like, that's going to be a monstrous duo.
I'll play D.Va with that lineup. I like that a lot. Good calls there, Bren. Let's get to your predictions to kick off Week 5. They may have debated in the last segment, but all of our analysts are in harmony right now. All three guys like Dallas to keep it rolling against Florida. The Shock to take out the Fusion, and Guangzhou over Houston. So, fellas, let's talk about this last one, or that middle one, rather, the match of the day, in my opinion. Philadelphia Fusion going up against the Shock. We mentioned it earlier. The Shock have been perfect through 5 matches. That's 20 maps in a row. Today, they can make it 24. Does it happen? Starting with you, Wolf, yes or no?
I think they're going to 4-0 today, for sure. I think they're better.
Oh, I think Fusion don't. I think they managed to stop them.
I agree.
It's going to happen? Not going to happen. We got it split. Thanks for watching Watchpoint. We'll see how the matches play out after this.